So there are definitely, there's a very big difference to that, absolutely. And you're right, there is a huge confusion between it. That me going to the gym doing bicep curls, I'm working out and I'm ready to go play a round of tennis. So the very distinct difference between you're working out, going and doing strength training and athletic conditioning is that the athletic conditioning is very sport specific, that deals with the movement of which the sport you're training for. So for example, in golf, there's a lot of rotation. And so me doing bicep curls and squats to like make my muscles strong and big doesn't serve me any purpose in having a good balanced rotational move. And when you don't train for the movement which you do for a sport, you are very prone to injury. So you want to make sure that you work on developing balance, mobility, agility, and flexibility, along with strength, power, and depending on what sport it is, you would deal with development of endurance or speed. So there's a very, very distinct difference between that. And if you are in a sport, you need to look at working with a trainer who is sport specific and well educated with the sport that you are training for. Absolutely. It's essential for you to interview your trainer, okay? They are responsible for your health and your safety of progressing with your body. And this body you are stuck with for the rest of your life. You do not want someone injuring it because they do not know what they're doing. First and foremost, you want to ask for their certifications and their credentials. Secondly, you want to know how long they have been working physically as a trainer. So I can take the test, I can study for it, I can pass it, but actually having the practical skill set to be able to deliver it is a whole other thing. You also ask them to do, if you feel comfortable with them and you're considering, you need to do a session with them. It is completely okay to say you are not right for me. When I go and I take on a client and they want to train with me, I always give them the first session and I will tell them, look, this is just as much for me testing out you as you testing out me. We have to be a good fit. You also want to know if you're training for a specific sport, if this athlete or this trainer was an athlete in that sport, okay? And it's really important to know that not all athletes are good trainers or coaches. Just because you do the sport does not make you an expert at teaching it. So the other thing that they always want to look for is how a trainer will teach and articulate an exercise. No good trainer will stand there and count 1 to 10 repetitions every time they do an exercise. A good trainer will coach you through the movement. You can do repetitions and I can count on my fingers while I talk to you and articulate how you do a perfect squat. And that's what a good coach will do. These points are very, very essential to finding a trainer who will sport specific train you. If a trainer just lives to look good Nothing wrong with that. If you just want to lift to look good, look for a trainer like that. But if you want a trainer who will help you develop your athletic skills, help you with injury prevention, there will be your workouts will be varied. They will be smart about it. Anytime, if you question, and it is okay to ask questions, if they can't give you a reason why they're doing what you ask them to do, they're probably not experienced or good enough. And me, I have always lived by, I would never ask an athlete to do something I'm not willing to do myself. And I live by that. And I think that's really, really important. And when you start working with trainers, you will start to see that the more that you ask them questions and see what they're willing to do. So yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's a very important one because too many people just go, oh, so-and-so trained with so-and-so, you should hire them. And then 3 months down the line, you're stuck with a trainer that you never asked the question and you just hired them. So it's very important to interview and ask these questions. And I actually think it's great you combine this together because there are, when you look from two different perspectives, here in India, we look at them very differently as two different things. But then you will find that in Western society, people kind of mix these two together. So flexibility, it's important. However, that word is often mistaken for what people think of mobility. And so the first and foremost important thing we need to make sure as athletes, as moving human beings, that we have mobility. If I can't move my shoulder joint all the way and have full range of motion, it does me no good to have tricep flexibility. And the other thing is in a lot of sports, you have quick explosive reactions. And this is where having people mistake being really flexible in our hamstrings and our quads to be able to have that ability to stay injury-free that's where it counts. However, it's important to know warm up the muscles. And most people get injured because they're not warmed up versus I'm not flexible. I hope that makes sense because muscles, when we're working them and we're athletes and we're moving, they're constantly contracting. And we need to focus more on mobility and that ability and the ability to quickly utilize the contraction of our muscles and recover over and over and over again. Flexibility just comes with something that it feels good, it helps keep us open, it helps keep the fascia from getting tight and stuck to our bodies once we've stopped all that movement. Yoga, I think, is an amazing benefit to athletes and people all across the board. It does so much more than just stretch our bodies, because that's just a secondary thing to the benefits of yoga. Is we get to stretch our bodies. We get to increase our flexibility because we're doing yoga. But yoga also teaches us like a very deep connection with our mind and body. And for that, I find that if you were to say, should I stretch more or should I do yoga more? I would absolutely say do more yoga, because for athletes, the more you can connect to your body and know everything that's going on with it as you're getting the benefits of stretching as a secondary byproduct, you're going to gain so much more by having less injuries, by being more aware of your movement and your connection by far. So there's a high benefit, but yoga, I would say, is something that everyone should do if you want to be connected to your body. And on the flexibility side, I would say try thinking more on the mobility side than anything, because that's where you're going to have bigger benefits. So let's just say that I have all these muscles in my body, okay? And my ability to develop muscular endurance would be my ability to repeatedly flex those muscles over and over and over and over and over again, okay, for long periods of time. We might not be able to sustain a heavier load, but we are able to carry it, to contract those muscles on a long-term repeated basis. It helps the development of our muscular system. Cardio endurance is the development and the long-term sustainability of being able to transport blood throughout our system for a long period of time. So it strengthens our heart. Our heart is a muscle, but that cardio endurance work will strengthen our heart. It will also strengthen our respiratory system. They work together because let's say we go for a run. Okay? We go for a run. I need the muscular endurance training in my legs to be able to carry my body for a long period of time. So I can then train my cardio system for endurance to keep transporting oxygen through my bloodstream for a long period of time, which works my heart and respiratory, cardiovascular and respiratory system. So it comes to doing the functional sports training that's related to the movement that you do over and over. Like, just like golf, a lot of people, like when I've gone to play golf with people, they're like, okay, let's just go. And I'm like, guys, I need to warm up. I need to practice my skills before I go to the course and tee off. Like, it's one of those things that people like to run before they know how to walk. And it's really essential, no matter what level of athlete you are, you always need to be working on these skills and developing the skills before you actually do the sport. Now, in developing this skill set, there are a lot of different components that we need to incorporate. But all the training that we do, whether it's on the coordination side, whether it's the balance, whether it's the strength, the power, or the endurance, these things need to be related to the movements that we're doing for that particular sport. Because if I'm practicing jump shots in basketball, it serves me no purpose for teeing off in golf. Like, it just has, that movement has no related purpose. But if I practice rotational exercises, if I'm doing good thoracic movements in rotational stuff in mobility, that's essential in a sport like golf. Doing cable chops on weighted machines with weights is an excellent exercise to do for golfers because of the way that your swinging motion is. So it's really being keen, and this goes back to how do you pick a trainer that's related to sports. You interview, and that person should know these type of exercises, these type of movements, these type of skill exercises we do to get you ready and to help you throughout the sport. Gosh, I played golf last month and the month before with some guys in London, and they're very good. One of them has like a handicap of 2, the other one has a handicap of 8, and they just like step out onto the no warm-up, and one of them complained the entire time about how badly they played, and I'm just like, why don't you just spend time like working on your skills? And they were like, oh, I don't like doing that. And I'm like, well, you're not going to correct the issues you have then. Oh, well, you know just as well as I do, it's essential. However, it's so hard with professional athletes and elite athletes to think this way. It's really hard because we're competitive at nature. It's hard for us to want to back off. We just want to do more. And the one thing that I have had to learn to embrace is the power of recovery. And I teach this to my athletes all the time, that this is the time when our body repairs and you get the opportunity to become stronger. And I think it's really important to articulate that to athletes, that this moment of rest is how you get stronger. It's where your body assimilates all the hard work that you do. And mentally it is hard, I know, but the more that you practice it, the stronger you will become, and the easier it is after tournaments, after races, after events, to sit back and enjoy that. And off season is something where people either have a very difficult time with taking the time off, but it's important. It doesn't mean do nothing. It means do less, or do something different, or gently practice a different skill. It's a hard one, I know. But one thing to always keep in your mind is long term, how do you want to be? Do you want to be doing this sport 10 years from now? You're not going to be able to do it 10 years from now if you're hitting it hard 7 days a week, if you're not letting your body rest and recover. It's that simple. Sleep is so important. Sleep is like your little microcycles of recovery that you get on a daily basis, right? And so sleep, we spend anywhere from 20 to 30% of our lives sleeping. It is an essential part for survival. If we don't sleep, we will not survive. And when you look at it that way, that it is essential when our bodies are under stress, and when we perform sports, when we compete, when we train, we are putting our bodies under an enormous amount of stress, and we need that time, sleep, to allow our bodies to recover, to allow our wiring system to work efficiently. So what our brain learns and assimilates, like processes when we sleep. So if you want to become a better athlete, sleep is an essential part of developing your skills and becoming better.